In our time, we have stories like the story of the man Jacob Masakwe. Born Liberian, he was born in Liberia in sometime 9th August 1971. He was born on the August 9th, 1971. Son of Jacob D. Masakwe the First. He is the son of a great man, a man of many wives. He was married to so many women. He married several women, had a lot of children, and Jacob Masakwe II happens to be one of the many sons of the man Jacob D. Masakwe the First. Born somewhere in Tople, Nimba Country, Liberia. Who am I talking about? Who is the man on my profile table this morning? Jacob Masakwe II. Dr. Roots. Like I told you earlier, his father has several wives, as it is customary in Liberia at the time. Even till date, it is customary. If you have many wives in Liberia, your respect is large. It's an African custom, it's an African tradition, it's an African culture. In as much as we want to dilute it with Christianity, it remains an African culture, it remains a customary of Africans. His father has several wives, as it is customary in Liberia, and many children born of them. His many wives, of course, obviously had many children for Jacob D. Masakwe I. One of them is the man I'm talking about, Jacob Masakwe II. There was no distinction between the children due to being born to different mothers. And it's miraculous in Africa. You find a man with many wives, 2, 3 wives. They have numerous children, but you will not know the difference because no, man, the upbringing is so strict, is so beautiful that they will not even know that they are siblings of stepmothers. You don't know. He comes from a family like that, born out of many women but one people. No distinction between them at all, due to being born to different mothers. No, man. Jacob was practically raised by his 2 elder sisters. Dr. Roots, Jacob Masakwe II, call him the Jujuman, was practically raised by his 2 elder sisters. They teamed up together, they raised him. Of course, a great man is not raised by one hand. Show me a great man who was raised by one hand. No, man. They go through a series of hands. They pass through a lot of hands to become great. It is no different from the story of Jacob Masakwe II. He was raised by 2 pretty beautiful women who happened to be his elder sisters. Both devoted Christians and educators with multiple skills and talents. They taught him charity. They taught him compassion. They taught him hard work. They taught him self-discipline. Listen, man. They taught him all of these elements through deeds. They did not beat him up to learn that. They did not put a pen to paper, a chalk to a blackboard to teach him that. They taught him all of these elements through deeds. The best teacher, they say, is experience. The best way to teach a man is to do. And that's how Jacob Masakwe II, Dr. Roots, picked up all of these elements. He picked them all through deeds. Charity, compassion, hard work, self-discipline. He accepted Jesus Christ of Nazareth as his Lord and personal Savior and got baptized in 1983. Today, he will tell you he's not Christian. He will tell you he's Muslim at a point in time. He will tell you he's a traditionalist at a point in time. Oh my God. But he was raised into a follower of Jesus Christ, the man you call Jesus Christ. I'm talking about Yeshua HaMashiach. And he was baptized in 1983. He played an active role in his church's youth group growing up. He was an active member of his church's youth group growing up, reinforced by his deep religious belief. Another development concretized his direction in life. Civil war and brutal violence have been endemic to his home country for decades. If you know the Liberian story, the Liberian Civil War, this man is a survivor of that particular civil war. A lot of brutality went on during this particular civil war. And this particular civil war of violence, brutal violence, have been endemic to his home country for decades. It went well over a decade. These events shaped him. They shaped his life and propelled him into a life of service to mankind or humanity. After surviving the gory situation in his country for decades, events shaped him and propelled his life, or propelled him into a life of service to humanity. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Jacob Masako II, the man we all know, popularly known as Dr. Roots, the man behind the African Renaissance Festival. The Renaissance Festival was here in Ghana some time back. Listen, man, it was a mega show in the capital of Ghana, and he's the man behind that particular festival. He's not only behind that festival, he's behind a lot of books. One of them I'll be telling you about today, Fake News, his latest. Now in July 1990, during the height of the civil carnage in Liberia, he miraculously survived the infamous St. John's Lutheran Church massacre that took the lives of about 600 people and critically injured many others. He survived this. When you survive a massacre that has taken the lives of about 600 people and critically injured a lot of people, hundreds of people, then you know that survival was a miraculous survival. He miraculously survived the infamous St. Peter's Lutheran Church massacre that took the lives of about 600 people and critically injured many others. He witnessed the execution-style killing of one of his senior siblings, his elder siblings, by the late President Samuel Doe's government's death squad. Right before his eyes, he saw the execution-style killing of one of his senior siblings by the late President Samuel Doe's government's death squad. Right before his eyes. Listen, man. Killings. Right before his eyes, his own brethren, his own brother, blood brother, was taken down in an execution style. He miraculously escaped and survived for several days by living under a false identity in Monrovia, because he could speak a couple of languages aside his native language, aside his mother tongue, and this particular ability to be able to speak other languages aside his mother tongue aided him to live under false pretense in Monrovia, the Liberian capital. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Jacob Masako II, the man you know as Dr. Roots, the man behind the African Renaissance Festival. Born August 9th, 1971. Born August 9th, 1971. Son of Jacob D. Masako I. Born inside Torplay, Nimba County, Liberia. Born into a very large family, a polygamous family, with a lot of siblings from stepmothers. Raised by two sisters, beautiful sisters, who taught him charity, compassion, hard work, and self-discipline through deeds. So you look at the life of the man, Dr. Roots. I'm talking about Jacob Masako, a very practical human being, because he was taught all of these elements through practice, through deeds. Yes, he survived a lot of attacks and violence during this particular civil war in Nigeria, and we love to call them miraculous survival because of the nature or the characteristics of this particular incidents. You look at the incident, the scenario you paint, you give a mental picture of that particular scenario, and you wonder how he escaped, how he survived these particular, events. On the early morning of October 1994, he survived a home invasion again. He survived two. One, his brother was executed before him. Two, he survived another massacre that saw the killings of about 600 people and the injury of about more than hundreds of people. He survived that one too. As if that is not enough, on the early morning of October 1994, he survived a home invasion that left his right leg shattered by bullets 5 inches below his knee. He spent 18 months recovering from his injuries at Dr. H. Brown's Medical and Surgical Clinic. It's a private clinic adjacent the Monrovia City Hall. He was hospitalized there. He was taken care of around at that particular hospital. This bullet injury ultimately left his right leg more than 5 inches shorter than his left leg for the next 10 years of his life. So for the next 10 years of his life, this particular bullet that pierced through the lower knee of the man I'm talking about, yes, left him, left one of his legs, I'm talking about the left one, ultimately left his right leg more than 5 inches shorter than his left leg for the next 10 years of his life. For the next 10 years of his life, the man had to walk with this particular deformity. During these years, he was physically handicapped and had to use specially modified shoes for support. The pain was excruciating, and the healing and recovery time was very challenging. But this man did not pull over, did not give up. Time after time, he nearly lost hope, but prayers and his faith sustained and uplifted him, illuminating hope through the darkest times. On the early morning of April 6th, 1996, the Civil War's gruesome carnage swarmed through Monrovia again. By 10 a.m., the clinic was ransacked. The clinic where he was actually hospitalized was ransacked. It was practically like death was chasing this man. Even on his hospital bed, I beg your pardon, death chased him down there. The hospital on the, early morning, April 6th, 1996, the gruesome carnage swarmed through Monrovia one more time. By 10 a.m., the clinic where he was actually hospitalized, he was actually, admitted in, got ransacked. Doctors and nurses fled. They ran away for their life. And patients were left to their mercy. To their fate. They were left to the mercy of the, forces. I'm talking about the leader, the rebels. He witnessed all of these miraculously and survived miraculously. In February of 2002, he escaped Liberia with the assistance of Mrs. Frances Ria Key and Mr. Chuck Lamarck and the Foundation for the Defense of Human Rights, that's Frontline. He sought and received political asylum in the United States and settled down in US. Even today, that's where he resides, a home to more than 10,000 Liberian refugees who fled the Liberian Civil War. Certain Island, where the Liberian refugees, lived at the time. He was part of them, But he had a foundation. He had a professional life, a professional journey. He has a foundation. As a refugee himself, looking at the conditions surrounding the life, of fellow refugees, even though he was handicapped in a way, he did not allow that to render him useless. He decided to help fellow refugees. Founder and chairman of Uprising Press, International. He's the founder and chairman of the Uprising Press, a media, entertainment, technology, and business consultation company founded in January 2018. He happens to be the founder and chairman of the African Renaissance Festival International. That's 2021. A conservative not-for-profit organization with the mission of promoting U.S. strategic interest in Africa while preserving the ancient indigenous culture and ways of life of the African people on the motherland. The organization advocates closer U.S.-Africa ties through trade, investments, infrastructure, development, technological transfer, respect for territorial integrity, economic, political, and cultural sovereignty. And he's the brainchild, he's the brain man, he's the brain behind this particular Renaissance Festival. It was in Ghana. That particular festival was in Ghana. The train was in Ghana sometime last year or so. Now, as a direct victim of the Liberian Civil War, he created the Liberian Civil War Memorial Endowment Foundation, a not-for-profit foundation created in the winter of 2018 to be launched on August 24th, 2019. Their mission was simple, is to preserve the memories of the 14 years genocidal Liberian civil carnage, promote peace, reconciliation, and sustainable development through direct service and advocacy. He also served as vice president of the Business Development and Africa Investment Strategy at the OB Technologies LLC, a New York City-based technology company specialized in telecommunication and innovative software development from fall 2017 to December 2018. When the company changed ownership, the company decided to change ownership and discontinue its mission. In response to the many needs of the West African refugees and war victims, including other low-income families, many of whom work long hours at low-income jobs for survival, Mr. Jacob Masakwe formed African Refugee International. African Refugee, in partnership with the executive director of the International Trauma Studies Program, Jack M. Saul, PhD, a New York State licensed, psychological therapist. Between the late spring of 2004 and winter of 2006, Jacob went through multiple reconstructive orthopedic surgeries in a hospital in New York City where doctors employed various technologies, various techniques on his knee injury, on his injured leg. They found a way to fix it. They found a fixation device, that will be able to make him walk perfectly well. It was fixed into his right leg on a 24-hour daily basis. He was in a very, very gory pain, excruciating pain and agony. Eventually, he achieved a full recovery and have since gained the full use of his right leg with the daily pain reminder. All of this was possible through the blessings of God Almighty, according to him, he says, and the benevolence of Jack M. Soul, PhD, survival of torture program at that particular hospital. Being a survivor of all of this, above all, his rewarding experience can also be attributed to the good work of the founding fathers of the great America, who fought for freedom and built a nation of hope, free from fear and intimidation. Those who envisioned a nation that would serve as refuge to the oppressed and a home to the weak and the broken-hearted. As had found out, irrespective of ethnicity, religious creed, a man could come from nowhere, anywhere in the world, play by the rules, and rise to the top in the United States, a country endowed with the spirit of compassion, love, patriotism, and service to humanity. That American experience has also contributed to the conditioning, to the condition of his positive outlook on life. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Jacob Masakwe, the man popularly known as Dr. Roots. Son of Jacob Masakwe, Jacob D. Masakwe the first. Now he's an author. He has written a couple of books. The latest of the books is Fake News. We are actually billed to talk to him. It's some 57 past the hour, 7. Quite a lengthy profile. But because we're billed to talk to him, we will check him, look for him online and put him online, and then talk to him about some of his charity work, some of his, his books as well. He has written a book about fake news and how fake news has influenced the decision-making, political decision-making of the people of America. And if you look into fake news here in Africa, if you read the book as an African, you realize that damage fake news is causing Africans as well. Most of these international media use fake news about Africa to run down Africa. He is a PhD, he is a master's degree holder in computer technology, in computer science. So for him to write about fake news will surely come with suggestions as to how to deal with that particular menace, technological menace. He wrote a book some time back about artificial intelligence and how artificial intelligence is a threat to humanity. He's an IT expert, and when he writes about these things, he writes from an expert perspective. Let's find him, track him, and put him online and have a little chat with him all the way from the United States of America. Dr. Roots, Jacob Masakwe the second. Yes, we're trying to raise him and put him online and find out. I just want to talk about the book, the fake news book. You go to Amazon, you find it. If you go to Amazon, you find it. Try have a piece of it, and you understand the damage fake news, the damage caused by fake news. When people concoct stories, splash them into the system, and we have consumers of this particular fake news, the impact is devastating. Listen, the Russians have actually been accused of hacking into the American system sometimes, fish out information, and they said that was how Hillary Clinton was denied the opportunity to serve America. Russians hacked into their system. Fake news has a way of working out the mindset of the people and influencing the direction of their decision. And this book actually highlights all of that with suggestions as to how to deal with this particular menace. If you go to Amazon, you'll find it. Go to all online digital stores, you'll find the book. Read about it. Or Google the man himself. Read about his works. And you find out the solutions presented in some of these works by Jacob Masakwe, Dr. Roots. Network Bandulu, you bear with me. Network has been a challenge for the past few days here in the western part of Ghana. and the weather isn't helping at all. It's been raining since dawn this morning, and it's still drizzling out there. And you know what happens when it drizzles? We have network issues when it drizzles. But I'm trying. If I have him, once I raise him, I'll put him online so we talk to him and find out exactly the inspiration behind fake news and the damages caused by fake news. It's exactly 8 o'clock time check here from the studios clock. That was the pretty short one, a summarized story of the man Jacob Masakwe, aka Dr. Roots. Yeah man, the Jujuman. I'm told he has a shrine in America. To have a shrine in America should tell you the caliber of person you're dealing with.